Hello and welcome to the fourth episode of Ask a DM, the show where I bring on a guest DM and we answer your questions. So we've taken questions from Twitter, from Discord, and from the last Ask a DM video down in the comments. And we're going to be taking your live questions as well for those of you that are watching this live. So let me introduce who we have on this week. It is Fryminis. Do you want to introduce yourself, Eric?
Hi. Yeah. Hey, everybody. I'm Eric from Fryminis. My wife, Julie, and I, we love to put out content about miniatures and how to improve your gaming experience and how to make your table a more welcoming environment for everybody. And of course, all sorts of book reviews, homebrew content, and just general neat stuff. If you want to learn more, check us out at fryminis.com. Join us over on YouTube or Twitter or Instagram, or Discord at discord.gg/fryminis and come hang out.
Perfect. And for all of you that are watching live, if you want to ask us a question, just make sure to put question at the beginning so I know that you're talking to us and not just having a chat amongst yourselves in the chat. But I have quite a few questions for you this week, which is good. And I always start the show by asking you some questions about your DM style and stuff like that so the viewers know what sort of DM you are, because obviously DMs can be quite different. So let's go with them first. So first off, do you usually homebrew or do you run pre-made modules?
For modules, generally homebrew type stuff, but I like to take inspiration from the published books because I think Wizards of the Coast knows what they're doing. Now, I don't like to just have a book and just flip through and read the adventure that way. But one of my favorite campaigns we ever ran was inspired by Saltmarsh. So we took a lot of the places and the people and the ideas for the individual quests throughout there. And then we just ran off of that. So inspiration off of published material, but not letter of the law kind of thing.
Perfect. That's pretty much the same as me. I've done some of the modules, but even they end up becoming quite heavily edited when I've decided either the players have gone a completely different way and we've gone off the rails, or I've decided I prefer to do something a different way.
Yeah, I did start with Adventurers League. That was my first experience DMing and playing, really. And it was nice knowing you had to stick to the module. So it was like a good safety net. So if you're not experienced or you're not comfortable coming up with your own stuff, that's totally okay. There's a ton of great content out there.
Definitely. And what is the highest level you have DM'd for?
Like character
As in,
level?
yeah. So what's the highest level your players have got to?
20, all the way through.
Okay, you've gone all the way.
Yeah,
you're a brave one.
Yeah, it can be spicy. Truthfully, with Adventurers League, I think tier 3 was probably my favorite tier to DM because you could throw all sorts of fun and wacky stuff. You'd find incredible challenges in the modules. And with Adventures League in particular, a lot of those players are the players that are super duper into optimizing. So they are usually strong and beefy. So it was fun. But as a player, I think I like to play as tier 1, literally level 1. I love it's a high risk, high reward. It makes you feel like you're in there in the nitty and gritty kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're very brave going all the way to level 20, because once you get to that high level, you really have to, run with the punches as such, because anything can happen when they get wish and stuff like that.
Yeah, it depends on your players. If you have players that are not comfortable with their characters after playing them through 20 levels, I would say, how did you get in that situation? But just as long as they have a general understanding of what the what the character can do, and always have like a go-to option, go-to action kind of thing, it usually doesn't drag too much.
Cool. And do you usually go for milestone or XP leveling?
Oh, milestone. 100% milestone. Not that any of the people I play with would do it, but just the idea of like farming XP is so silly to me in something like D&D. I think milestone just makes more sense. It just feels better. But if you want to play experience points, that's classic. That's fine. In a video game, I would love to play. I would absolutely pick experience points.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I started with experience points and then changed to the bright side of milestone after a while. Definitely find that better. Okay, cool. Let's get on to the questions from the community then. So,
Sure.
Lone Colossus asks, "What's your favourite homebrew rule and what inspired it?" If you have any, I guess.
I have many, but my absolute favorite of all of my homebrew stuff, it's called Improved Inspiration, and so as inspiration is in the book, you can choose to give yourself advantage, right? Which is, I mean, advantage is nice, but you're doing it before you roll, and so if you happen to roll 2 18s or something, like you've wasted it, right? So with improved inspiration, I've spun it off into 3 tiers of inspiration. You can get a bronze inspiration that lets you re-roll a d20 roll of your own, a silver inspiration that lets you do the bronze, or you can give it to another player if they need to do a re-roll, and then gold inspiration where you get the benefits of the first 2, but you can also apply it to a DM's roll. And so the more exceptional your action to earn an inspiration can get you a higher tier of inspiration. So if you have just like a really clever solution to something, but not something wild, okay, here's your bronze inspiration. If you show up to the session in full costume that you've crafted, I'm going to give you a gold, something like that. So I like that range. My players love it. And if you're playing in person, we like to use little coins from Amazon. And so you keep those and you hand it out, and then you get like a little bag to stockpile them. And it works out well. And we did adjust it. Initially, you could people would just hoard them and then just spend as many as they needed until they got the thing. But now we have a rule of where you can only attempt a reroll once with it. And that's actually on the DM's Guild. If you want to check it out, Improved Inspiration. It's free.
There you go. That's I'm definitely
long-winded answer to inspiration.
Well, I'm definitely going to. I am one of those DMs that is terrible at remembering to give inspiration. So I sort of have a rule at the table that if another player thinks, "Oh, that person's done something awesome, they should have inspiration," they can also give inspiration. Because I'm just terrible at remembering. I feel like a DM has so much to remember. So yeah,
I agree with you, and I definitely slouch sometimes with that. But my players are always quick to point out, "Oh, that was worth an inspiration. What are you doing?" Yeah. So cool. They don't let that slide by.
I like it. I will definitely be stealing that, and I'll grab it off the M's Guild as well.
Yeah. Improved inspiration.
So the one that I enjoy, and I don't actually do this at every game, it depends on the players, but have you ever heard of explosive criticals?
I have heard of it, but I've never used it.
So so the basic premise is once you get a critical, if you then roll the max damage dice, so say you get a critical on a longsword hit, and then you roll an 8 on your D8, you can re-roll again and then add that on, and it's essentially, if you keep getting 8s, you could end up with a stupid amount of damage, but statistically that doesn't happen. But there is something just disheartening when you get a critical and then you roll the dice twice and it's a 1 and a 2.
Completely agree. What we do for our critical is the first die is just maxed out, and then the bonus die, that's an actual roll. So longsword, it's going to do that 8 plus the roll. Yeah, and that works out. And it doesn't tend to obliterate the players when the monster gets a crit against them.
yeah, which the explosive one can definitely do. So, yeah. All right, we got Rich Mary here, so I'll just saying, yo, sup. Thank you for coming along, Rich.
Rich Mary's so great.
Indeed, he is.
He was just on Dungeoneers Pack stream, and I commented that nobody has quite the vibe that Rich Mary has.
Indeed.
I don't think I'm an explosive person like your criticals, but I would love to have that cool, relaxed mode.
Well, I'm gonna skip to his question actually.
Oh, great!
He asked a question. So, what's the deal with Banderhobs?
Yeah. So Banderhobs are the greatest monster in all of D&D. These here, let's focus. Oh, there you go. Look at that.
Perfect.
See that big belly, that large toothy grin, and those froggy eyes, and just like robot dancing for some reason. I like Banderhobbs, but my wife loves Banderhobbs. She just likes frog type things. And so we celebrate Banderhobbs all the time. Right now, in fact, we're celebrating Banderhob-tober. We're running a painting contest. We've got a bunch of free homebrew. So a Path of the Banderhob Barbarian, the Banderborn, the actual lore for Banderhobbs. Hags create them to basically go snag children. And so we wanted to make them a little nicer. So a friendly witch was like, "Oh, I'm going to create my own." And now these ones are like sentient and can speak and everything. And so they're fun. They're fun. It's just a fun thing. We even have Banderhob merch with shirts and everything. It's just fun.
I can't actually remember what the abilities of a Banderhob are. Are they?
Oh, it's just like a frog. They've got a long sticky tongue. They can pull you in. Then they can swallow you, and they can do necrotic, and they can shadow step. Yeah,
nice. Pretty powerful then.
Our PDFs, the homebrew, it's all free. It's over on Discord.
There you go. Go grab that up. Okay, that's enough.
And items. We have Banderhob items too. One of them is a whip. So it's like a bone with a Banderhob tongue, but the tongue's only like a foot long. But when you whip it, it goes out to that full 10-foot reach and stretches, and then can yank you back.
Okay, definitely got a load of Banderhob stuff going on then. Yeah. I did see when I joined your Discord, which is down in the description if you want to join Fryminis Discord. They said about Banderhob-tober.
Yeah,
and I saw all the stuff. So go over to his Discord if you want to go check all that stuff out.
Yeah. Oh, Rich, you got to check out the PD. That is not the grossest one. There's one item that, because they have those big teeth. If you replace one of your teeth with this Banderhob tooth, it's attunement and very rare. And it's. I wanted to juice up monks a little bit, so you can put it in there, and then you can add an extra D6 whenever you make an unarmed or natural weapon attack with your mouth.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh. A lot of fun stuff. Right, we got a question from Dungeoneers back. Actually, mentioned it earlier. Is there any player? Move on. Let's take it down. Good day. So, is there any player options that you ban at your table?
I don't outright ban anything. Any published material. I strongly request and will. I start with a no, but I can maybe be convinced for homebrew material that's not from me. Of course, all my homebrew stuff you can play at the game, but if you show up with D&D wiki kind of stuff, I'm sorry, I'm gonna pass on that kind of stuff. But anything published, yeah. Now, some of the stuff like Eric Hokra or whatever, like I would prefer if you didn't play that, but I can work around it. I think a lot of people have a hard time, understandably, with flight at first level, especially if you're a fresh DM. That's a whole new dynamic you need to think about. But once you get, I think it's more of a mental hurdle of handling flight at your table than actually having.
Going back to the discussion earlier about homebrew versus pre-written stuff as well. I think flight. If you're playing pre-written stuff and you've got an Aarakocra from level 1 and you're playing it as the book says, the Aarakocra can get past a lot more than they should be able to. But then if you just modify it a little bit, it can make it a bit more difficult for them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I guess it's experience at the end of the day.
Yeah. If maybe there are angry birds out there that they'd have to deal with, or they're easier to see for archers to hit, or maybe you move that adventure into a cave or something. So it's not as useful if it's becoming a problem for you. But
yeah, I don't think there's anything I ban. Well, there's definitely nothing I ban at the table. I guess I don't have guns in my world. That's a variant thing, but
I agree. if you want to play with guns and stuff like that, that's totally cool. But that's just not my favorite flavor of D&D.
Yeah,
Now, if it's like a one shot or something like special, like sure. But for a primary campaign, I prefer a more classical type of fantasy.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, other than that, I don't think any. Rich has also asked another question. Is there any place you guys would recommend to pick up maps? You got any places you like to pick up maps?
Yeah. So I've got a couple Patreons. I want to make sure I get their name right. Give me 1 second. But truthfully, I create most of my maps. I usually use Dungeon Fog or Incarnate. The web-based ones are great. My mind's blanking on the desktop app that a lot of people use.
Dungeon. There's another dungeon one, isn't there?
It's the one with the little dog symbol. Somebody help me out.
I know which one you're on about. Yeah, I'm the same. I create most of mine. I do actually put all of my maps up on my website, ShrikeDnD.com, if people want some free maps. Just because they're sat on my hard drive, I thought I might as well just put them up for other people to use as well. And I've also got some Patreon as well. I've jumped on.
Dynamic dungeons and advanced battle maps. Those are the two Patreon accounts I follow for maps.
I've got,
but yeah, like I said, I may just make most of them.
So this I'm actually going to chuck it in the chat. There's this one Patreon that has made, this isn't maps as such, but it's video art of the Curse of Strahd games, places even, and it's really cool and has made my table so much better. So they're like animated images, I guess, of all the different places in Curse of Strahd. So when they come to a new place, you can just chuck it up, and then it looks really cool. So
yeah,
that's one of them.
I love the video map stuff. When we were playing here at my house before COVID stuff, on our dining room table, I made these like wood support structure beams, and we put a TV horizontally out there, and I would have the video maps up playing for that whenever it made sense, and we'd use the minis there. But now playing online, most of the time I don't use the video maps. I use static maps through Owlbear Rodeo. I love Owlbear Rodeo.
That's interesting. I've seen videos of Owlbear Rodeo, but haven't actually jumped in and used it yet. My
group, we usually like to use either D&D Beyond or physical dice. And so having all that integration there and just using the VTT just for positioning. And we tried Foundry, and Foundry is amazing. Foundry is super awesome, and I would love to play in a game of somebody who is a super Foundry pro. But I did not have the time to invest in making it truly successful for my group.
Yeah, Foundry is my one of choice. But you're right. I have invested a lot of time to understand all the modules and stuff, because it's more like you start with a pretty basic and not so great tabletop, but can make it into whatever you need it to be.
Yeah,
but
absolutely no contest. I think that's the most robust of all VTTs, but it's just not my speed.
Yeah, cool. Right. So next question: what is your favorite weapon in D&D? Magical or not? By Strange Mist. On Twitter.
That's interesting.
Do you mostly make your own weapons? I guess is
like magic weapons. Yeah. Now I don't create new categories of weapons. So like if you want to use a cutlass or something, or like you want to use like a rapier, but you're like, I've used a rapier for 65 different characters. And we can just reflavor it as a cutlass and it does slashing damage or something like that. Stuff like that. Like that's no problem. It's boring, but I absolutely love a flame tongue weapon. That extra 2d6. I mean, this is like a basic kind of weapon. Like you throw this on a champion fighter or something, it's going to be like that for that kind of a player who wants just a straightforward thing. But it's so it adds up. And then once you get crits in there too, oh my god.
I think
that staff of Magi.
yeah. I was actually about to say, I think I do actually quite enjoy weapons that have spells sort of
Yeah.
in used. I know in Critical Role episode campaign 2, there was one, I forgot what it was called, but that Yasha had, which basically if you hit someone with it, you could dispel magic. And it was
Oh,
called something like Mage Slayer or something along those lines. And I like that idea that when you hit someone, you can get a magical effect off of them, or you can break magic. It's quite cool as well. But yeah, I quite like ones which give you a bit. A spell is probably the easiest way to do it.
yeah, like a utility out of it. I agree. And one thing I really like to do is I have my own tables too, but in the DMG when you have the like those quirks item creating magic items, and there's like the whole table of like one where you can use an action to tell which way's north, or like as the when you hit it has like a song note. I love adding little flavor like that, especially to lower level items. Like if it's a +1 weapon or something. When you're using this,
like
you know, Elvish or something. Just like a little flavor on it.
Yeah, I like that definitely. Ranger Rick saying that Dungeon Page Studio is another one on Steam as well. I've never actually
Not
used
familiar.
that, but I've heard of it. Cool. Let's go on to the next question. Just to remind everyone who is watching live, if you want to ask a question, chuck it in the chat with question at the beginning, and we will make sure to answer it.
I'm sorry. Can I jump back? I do know my
go.
favorite item, my favorite weapon, Snicker Snack.
Oh, the new one.
from Witchlight. Yeah.
I'm gonna bring it out because I remember it.
It's a hex blade in a box. You can use your charisma with it.
Yeah, that's it.
You gain proficiency with great swords. And so throw that on a sorcerer or something. Just I love
definitely.
it.
Yeah. There you go. Okay, on to the next one. So, what non-RPG video games have influenced your world building and game design the most, and how? Or I guess let's also expand that to films and TV series as well as video games.
Well, yeah, no, this might be a weird one, but Civilization. I love a good territory collection campaign. To use the same example, that Salt Marsh thing, we went to an island, and it was a made up island, and it had all those like cities and stuff from Saltmarsh, and they landed in Saltmarsh, and the humans there rescued them, and they said, "Oh, one of your first things is go clear out this castle called Dawnhold. It's haunted or something." And so they did that, and then the humans were like, "You can take it if you want it. We just wanted to get rid of the monsters in it." And they're like, "Okay, great." And so then we had a map. And you could get territory for like to help out the humans, and then they met like other races like dwarves and elves, and it turns out, spoiler alert, the humans were actually not super great. They weren't like awful, but they were not good. And then the Sawagan attacked, and so on the map we had the non-human alliance, I forget what it was called, and then the humans, and then all the Sawagan territory was just taking it over. And then so like if you were traveling in friendly or ally territory, you were less likely to get like a random encounter. If you're in Sawagan territory, you're highly likely to get a random encounter, and all sorts of stuff. And then we could build outposts. I was very proud of that campaign. That was probably one of my favorites. But Civilization, I love taking control, building out a map, taking over the world.
And how much of that do you sort of measure in the background? Was there like a scale or of like, so the humans own 23% of the land, which means they get this benefit or anything like that? So
I turned it was, I used squares because I was a dork, but it was basically a hex map of the island. And so if you, and I'm telling you, I was like ripping off Civilization straight up. So if it was like a full city or like the Dawnhold, the capital castle, it would go out for like 2 squares. And then if you built an outpost, it would give you 1 extra square around that square of territory. And then you could build like roads to travel more quickly between them. And then it was like a gold burn for those outposts. So it was literally like you could see on the map, and I would keep it in Photoshop. So I had like the actual map, and then I would overlay the territories, and then each week as we would update it, you could see how the ownership transferred.
That's really cool. How long did that campaign go? Was that a long one?
It died from COVID.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
maybe one day to be resurrected.
I know. Yeah, I unfortunately most of that group has now moved away or moved on from D&D, I think. So I need to still do a write up to close it out, but that was brutal to not finish that campaign. It was so good. But we had 8 players for that campaign, so it was also nice to move to a smaller group.
Well, it would be really cool. Obviously, this is a lot of work. Is doing a campaign like that online with have a streamed group collective doing the main quests as such, but then having a Discord server, which then affects how the Sahurgans do their jobs and stuff like that. Sahurgan. So I'm English.
Say however you want.
Yeah. And how they affect it and how the non-human alliance affects it and stuff like that would be quite cool as well. But it's a lot of work, and you need a lot of people involved in the Discord server, I guess, to get that working.
Yeah, I'm fine doing the online stuff especially right now, but I am absolutely an in-person preferred player. Indeed.
Yeah, I can see by all the miniatures behind you. There's quite a lot there that aren't being used at the moment.
I have a whole closet on the other side too, full.
Nice. Okay. I don't really have any for this. I don't think I've used sort of horror film tropes and stuff like that to try and improve horror in some of when I did Curse of Strahd. But other than that, nothing obvious comes to mind. So there you go. So Abyssal Brews asked, what are some offbeat shops you've had in your worlds? So I guess they're odd shops.
No, that's a fantastic question. I
can't think of it.
We had some in that. We have multiple campaigns. I just want to be clear. That's not the only campaign I've ever done. But I can't remember the details. But part of building up that their main castle is they could invest in market stalls and bring in different shops, and so we had all sorts of just wild shops with selling weird stuff like furniture or whatever. So it was a little bit like The Sims too. It was that game was everything but D&D. But right now in my current campaign, we've got I love World Anvil. Especially for putting a map of an area, and then you can put the markers, and then that of here's this shop, and all sorts of fun things. But I'll say right now I'm kind of blanking on this one, but I think the question's awesome, and I look forward to your answer.
Yeah, I'm not going to have anything exciting either, I'm afraid. So I can't think of anything else that's on my head. I'm trying to think back to the very, very first campaign I ran. I did, I think, the quite common mistake of I mapped out the entire town. So literally every house had I had the NPCs names in every house and every shop. So I feel like one of those shops must have been strange or a bit offbeat, but I can't think of any off the top of my head. I know I had a Tinkerer's shop, but I guess that's not too offbeat.
Exactly. Yeah, all those standards. I do though. Speaking of top of your head, I want to for one of my games, one of the players and I we take year-long turns at DMing, and so during his he had his play. I forget the name of it, but it was a wig shop basically. And so that group, that was just him and his wife and me and my wife. And he was the DM for that one. And the two wives, they super jumped on that idea. And it was just it was great. And they wanted all these wigs. And so he ran with it. And they made magic wigs that you could attune to. And there were some cheaper ones that were kind of bad looking toupees and things that were after you used them a couple of times, they would fall apart. And then there were some really expensive ones that were high end. And one of them, I wish I could remember, but it was it could fly, but it had bees in it or something. So the wig shop. I want to give him some credit for the wig shop.
There you go, the wig shop. We just had a question come in from Dungeoneers Pat as well. What DM tool do you use that you didn't think you'd put into use? There's another quite hard one, I think.
Ooh, that is a hard one.
I think for me, one thing that sounds. So I use. I don't know how you explain what they are. They're like the plastic ring on the top of like a Coke bottle, so not the
Yep.
lid, the ring below. Use that to remember who's concentrating on things, because I'm terrible at remembering. Oh well, my players and me are terrible at remembering that. So I guess that's one thing that I now have to use that I didn't think.
If I could give you a little upgrade, it's a little more expensive, but not much. If you go on Amazon or something, you can get I use these. You know how when you get a key, like a key for your door, and then you can put like that little plastic or rubber color band around it. Those come in like little circles, right? And then they shape to the key. So you can get like a pack of like 100 of those in like a rainbow of colors for $5. So we use those.
I like it. Yeah, that's a bit more advanced and probably looks better than just chucking a little bit of plastic.
Yeah,
little ring of plastic.
I want to be clear. It's not a major step up, but I
definitely better.
I have a special hatred for your option from Adventurers League when I would DM and I'd use my minis, and then people would take those off of the bottle that they're drinking, and so then it's still got like pop on it, so it's sticky, and they throw it on my mini. Ugh.
Yeah.
So if it's all your stuff and dry, go for it. But that'll always have a sticky point for me.
I like it. Sticky point. I get it. Any tool that you can think of that you didn't think you'd use, but you are now?
Well, right now everything's virtual, so I never thought I would be virtual. I never wanted to be virtual, and if it wasn't for COVID, I don't think I ever would have gone virtual. So just online tools at all, I guess. But in person,
Nothing come to mind?
Yeah. No, I mean, hand painted minis, I guess. I never intended to get into hand painting minis, but when I first started and I saw the price of minis, and I thought, wow, I can get an unpainted mini for way less. So let's try that. But
yeah, I
use minis for everything.
I'm terrible at painting, so I've stuck away from painting minis, but I always get those random packs, the Icons of the Realms ones. Yeah. And yeah, they've done me well, I guess. I just have a lot of duplicates of stuff, but that's fine.
Well, if you ever need to buy singles, there are plenty of shops. Like here, you can get Miniature Market, but I know there are plenty in the UK that do similar services.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, on to the next one now. So, what is your least favorite D&D class and why? And that's from Rem Alternus.
So, I don't mean to just dump on them like everybody else does, but my least favorite class would definitely be the monk. Okay. I've played the monk. I have not played I've played a monk for a couple levels with Adventurers League, but nothing wild, right? I don't love the flavor of the monk. I feel like a lot of times people play the monk in a way that might not be culturally appropriate. I also don't love the mechanics of the monk. I know you get it back on a short rest, but everything burns through ki. I wish if I could add one thing to a monk, there would a new mechanic that was based off of how much ki you had left. So it would be more of a juggle between saving your ki and burning your ki. I don't know. I'm not a big monk fan. If you want to play a monk, awesome. Congratulations. Please have fun with it. And I did in the new for Fizzbands there's a new monk subclass in there, and I was so unfriendly to it that I put a disclaimer because I like to keep my videos as very positive and happy and friendly as possible. But I put a disclaimer in the start of it saying this is unlike my normal videos. This is not a positive video. And throughout the whole thing, I'm like, please, if you can correct me or help my understanding of why monk is fun to play, let me know in the comments. And the only kind of comments like that I got were, well, you get your key back on a short rest, so it's not a big deal. So I thought that even the monk people not really defending monk other than just saying, yeah, you get it back on a short rest, so it's not a big deal, which, okay.
Yeah.
I thought that kind of spoke to it a little bit too.
I agree. I don't think monk sort of fits very well into my worlds as much, but I've got some players that really enjoy playing them and like the idea of being able to punch a dragon to death. So I just let them do what they like.
Of course, if you want to play a monk at my table, I will not stop you, and I'll probably give you some homebrew to buff it up. But yeah, you won't see me playing a monk.
My one is actually ranger. And that's 100% because of me. So I don't do much exploration in my games.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of the ranger is based around, favoured terrain and stuff like this, where you get a lot around exploration. And also, I think the Beastmaster just isn't as fun as it sounds like it's going to be. Like it sounds like it's going to be awesome, and then actually, I'm running a game now where they're level 4, and one of them has a panther as a beast, as their beast companion, and it has 13 hit points. Bearing in mind the ranger has 40 hit points.
Yeah.
So, and they're up against stuff that does 16 in one hit. So I've changed it a bit to make it work, but there's just some stuff like that I don't really like about the ranger.
Completely agree with you on those like pet things that are like fundamental to the class. I think the Drake Warden, I think that's the best of the stat blocks for the companions. Okay. But like the Battlesmith, the Steel Defender, like I played an Artificer 1-20, and we luckily that was in the same campaign with the Whigs. Luckily the DM and I we agreed that it needed some significant boosts to keep it competitive. So that's where homebrew can help a lot. But if you're playing something like AL, or if you're at a table that's just raw, which I'm always finding like there are way more raw only tables than I ever imagined, then it's kind of in a pickle.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Well, we've got some more questions. Before we get on to the next one, if you are enjoying this, please do give the video a like. It does help to show this to more people after the fact. And I am also this week going to ask for those who are not subscribed to press the subscribe button, just because I'm 5 away from 2,000 subscribers. So Ooh. It would be awesome if I could get 5 subscribers in this stream and we could hit the 2,000 mark.
Good luck. That's super exciting. Cool. And I know you're not going to say it, but I'll say it. Everybody, look at that. Consider pushing that super chat button. Toss a couple bucks to this guy.
I've never done that. So there you go.
Yeah. Right. If you want to hit the like $500 super chat button, I'm not going to stop you.
Go for it. I was also going to mention that you have got the Fizzbands early, which is why you have seen some of these stuff, and you've been making loads of great videos over on your channel. So if people want to know what is in the book, go over to Eric's channel and find out. Fred's just turned up as well from How to D&D. Hello, thank you for coming by. On to the next one. So, Cormac Connolly, how much do you tend to involve your players' backstory? Is it something you really focus on?
So that's a great question. It depends on the player. Some players, like they're there to have fun and they're there to experience the game, but they are not there to be the star. So tossing in little things, great. I think I'd be hard pressed to completely, unless it was one of those things where the players are thrown into hell in the first session and like there's no chance there'd be a connection or something. But generally, you can have those kind of players. But if you have players that are a little more eager to take the spotlight, then absolutely. The more you give me, the more I'll give you. Right now, in our current campaign, the whole main thing that we've been doing for like 2 months now is all based around their one of the characters' backgrounds, and then another character's background who is tangentially related to it. So as much as I can, that is feasible for that player to support.
Perfect. And I've got Julie coming in with a super chat of $5. So thank you, Julie, very much. And says, thanks for having such a cute guest. There you go.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, Julie is my wife, and she's in a bunch of our videos, especially the live streams. Sometimes she comes on and she just plays Fable 3, Fable 2. How cool is that? Like, Fable's such a great game. Julie's the best. All the shout outs to Julie. And it's very funny that she said that, because I almost, when you did your tweet asking for questions, I typed it up, but then I was like, well, I don't know him that well, so I don't want to poke. But I typed up and then canceled out of. My question is, why are your guests so handsome? So it's very funny that she wrote that.
And there you go. Julie said it.
Yeah.
Perfect. Something you touched on there that I just wanted to bring up again as well, that I think is a really good tip, especially if you're new to DMing, is just saying to your players, the more you give me, the more I will include your backstory. I've had players which give, one sentence: orcs killed my parents, I want to kill orcs. And then I've had people give me a 12-page essay, and it's much easier to include the 12-page essay if you're happy to read 12 pages of someone's backstory.
Yeah, I would not accept the 12 page.
Yeah. But the more they give you, the easier it is to include it. And I try to push people to give me a bit more than just a sentence, because some of the best events in my campaigns have happened due to a backstory. And the most sort of emotional parts, I guess. So
now, I do want to put a little asterisk on that from my perspective. This wouldn't be for every player, but there are scenarios where a player might want to just kind of just go for it. And so here are just a couple bullet points of what I think my rough background is. And then DM, if you're up for it, fill in the rest. And so again, it's all dependent on that particular situation, on what I'm thinking of the whole game, and what my trust of the capabilities of a player to go along with it are. But absolutely, if Julie wanted to be like, hey, here are 3 bullets and do the rest, like, we can spin it all the way around that. But I would not call that an entry level maneuver.
Yeah, I've also had the players who their backstory has essentially been, I remember nothing, do what you will, which can be quite fun for a DM as well, to play with them a little bit, give them flashbacks and stuff like that. The next question is from Julia, and it is, what is your favourite monster? I feel like this is a baited question.
Yeah, I wonder, Julie, I wonder if you missed it at the start, but we already talked about Banderhobbs.
Yeah.
I don't know that. Go ahead.
I was going to say, we've got a few more viewers now, so...
Well, okay. So everybody, celebrate #BanderHobtober. The big frog-like creatures that will steal your children and eat you. Or celebrate them more positively with the Banderborn, a homebrew playable race. Available at discord.gg/Fryminis for free.
There you go. So a band hobby is definitely a favourite.
I would say, though, for real, I enjoy spellcasting monsters. Overall, I think that the upcoming changes to stat blocks, where they're eliminating just like a spell list, I think that's good. I think that's a good move. Now, that's one thing that for my homebrew stuff, like, I would probably just add those back in on the fly as needed. If you're fighting an archmage kind of thing, like, specifically if it's like a wizard, like, they would have a whole book of spells. So I like that flexibility, and I like surprising players with spells that they wouldn't. I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but I think I'm a fairly creative battler, right? So using things that you wouldn't, other than just fireball, I like to do. So big fan of that.
Nice. Yeah. I'm
also grappling. I grapple and shove and annoy the players as much as possible.
Grappling is
I will always take a chance to knock over a player.
Especially if you use environmental stuff in your maps quite a lot. Grappling. In fact, our last session, we had a hag get chucked off the edge of a cliff by one of the players. So they can get quite fun as well.
I will note I accidentally said knock over a player instead of a character, but it's all good.
Sometimes they need knocking over. Okay, so my favourite monster is actually the old-fashioned beholder. I just enjoy I enjoy the anti-magic cone plus the
I always forget to use it. The cone.
Yeah, and then plus that, oh god, which beam am I getting hit with this time? Fear in the players as well. So that's a good one. Got Carl Cow as well, who's been one of my players in the past, saying that he quite likes making a backstory with the DM as it goes, which is another thing I didn't mention as well, actually, is starting with a little bit of backstory, and then when something gets introduced, being like, oh, actually, I would quite like this to be a part of my backstory as well, and then going from there is another way of doing it as well.
You just don't want the entire party putting all the backstory load on the DM.
Yeah, that's a lot.
No.
And he's then asked, what is your favourite miniature that is behind you? You obviously have quite a lot of them.
So actually, one of my favorites, so I paint these minis, right? Is this whole series here. So that Battlesmith I was talking about that I played, we homebrewed options for it to increase in power, and one of those things was for it to change size. So eventually it's medium, and then eventually we gave it away to become large, like to upgrade itself to large. And then I would cast enlarge on it to make it huge. So I had a whole series, and let's see if we can get this focus. So this was a Reaper. Come on. There we go.
Perfect.
So this is a Reaper Minis, one of the little wormlings. Painted silvery metal. The Battlesmith the Steel Defender was dragon shaped, and we called it Ada, autonomous or artificial draconic automaton is what we called it. So that was like when medium, and then we painted a matching large dragon to go along with it, and then eventually at high levels, once we were able to go huge. This is what we ended up with. That's so I like, cool. Thank you. I like to have kind of like themed minis that are specific for a spot. One of the things I really like when I paint minis is to do like variants of them. So we all know what a red dragon looks like, right? But for like this red dragon, I painted like really, really dark and purple. So we could like use it as like a shadow dragon or something if you wanted. So you just get a little bit of variety in them. Mm-hmm. And then with goblins, just change up their loincloths or whatever. It makes it easier at the table to be like, okay, I'm going to attack the red goblin. I'm going to attack the green goblin.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're really cool. Favorites. I guess that's one of the downsides of just buying pre-painted minis. You get what everyone else has, and you can't really make it unique. But they definitely look awesome.
If you want to see all the minis I've painted, those all go on Instagram, instagram.com/Fryminis. That's just a big old gallery of minis.
And that's down in the description as well. So you can all go click through and have a look. Nice. Carl's asking another question as well, saying, what do you do with people who don't take notes? Like me, God. Do you mind?
I look in the mirror. I'm awful at taking notes. That's I've said it many times that if I could just like magically improve one thing about myself with this and just in life in general. Well, I have many things, but I would love to take better notes and be more active in note taking. I use OneNote, but if I'm DMing, I've already got so much going on. If I'm playing, I always think, oh yeah, I'll remember that. Or I'll write down like a name or something, but no context around it. So one thing that I used to do that I don't do right now because the group's so small, but I would write a full recap of that story. After each session, I would write up like a couple of paragraphs in kind of like my plan was eventually we could like put it together in like a book, not a book, but like a book kind of thing. So somebody could read through our campaign like as it was happening. And that was super great. And we would have somebody the following week say, oh, okay, what happened previous week, and they'd like go burn us through the recap, and that was great. But my advice would be get better at it, but that's hollow advice because I need to get better at it. Sorry, last thing, and it's one thing to not take full on super active notes and to need a reminder, stuff like that. That's fine. And the problem is when you're like distracted, when you're on your phone the whole time, so you have no idea what's going on. That's when it's like a problem.
Yeah, definitely.
For me.
Yeah, if you're distracted on the phone, especially as you said, as a DM, you've got so much going on and you put so much effort into it. It's just very disheartening if someone then is sat on their phone, not actually listening to the work you've put in. When it comes to note taking at the table, I generally like at least one person to be taking notes, just because there is something very rewarding where someone remembers an NPC from the beginning of the campaign by name, like the little guard that they just spoke to once. And we earlier spoke about how bad I am at giving inspiration, but I try to give inspiration to the people that do take notes and do remember stuff from much earlier in the campaign, to reward them for doing that as well.
Yeah, and that's a great solution is you can designate like the official note taker. So you have everybody's taking their kind of notes, but you have one person who's like their notes, like that's the official canon of what happened in that session. So so if there's like my notes say this and my notes say this, you say, note taker, what, break us down, what's the rule? And then you can give that person like inspiration or whatever, like the gold inspiration, something like that.
Yeah, definitely. And then there's a lot of love in the chat for your miniatures. Barry and Cal saying they're awesome. So
thank you. I appreciate
that.
That.
Love there as well. Right, next question from Cormac Connolly is: I love cool terrain and varying elevation. Do you have any cool terrain stories you could share from your games?
Ooh. I don't use a ton of terrain because I like to use those virtual maps, like the video maps on the computer, but I think I still enhance them with those, right? So I have this thing called the Contest of Fun, which is it's a friendly PvP tournament rule set, and so we have our big map and we have like an arena map on there, right? And so they're like in the middle of the map for this specific arena, there's like a little building that you can go hide in, and then there are like columns that you can like get cover from. So putting those kind of things, just like little stuff like that on the map can step it up to your players. And when you do use like accent terrain like that, I find that players are more likely to engage with that. If you're putting down a whole just like a purely virtual map, it's all pixels, so it kind of can look the same. If you're using a full on like foam core, styrofoam, whatever thing, like that's all great, but that same kind of thing can happen where like, that's all part of the terrain. When you're using this hybrid approach, you're calling attention to like, hey, this is a mechanic. This is something that you should maybe take a look at, kind of thing. One of my favorite uses though ever was a game that I played at ReaperCon for Reaper Minis a couple of years ago, and they had actually written this module, and there was like a dock scene, and they had the whole enormous dock scene made up. So it was completely amazing. You could go up and down it, and it was to scale and everything. And there were like even boats in the docks, and it was actual terrain can be the coolest stuff in the world. But those set pieces, I know I'm going a little long on this one, but those set pieces, a lot of times if you make them that incredible, they can become kind of one-time use kind of things, like not super flexible. And so if you do stuff where like tiles, where you're going to take them apart and put them back together, then bringing them up, putting them out, all that can be like a real interrupt in the game. And that's not a problem for a lot of people, but I don't know. I love looking at terrain. I love playing on terrain. I don't love DMing on terrain.
Yeah, definitely. I think in terms of physical terrain, I've got some. I'm gonna have to find out what the company's called.
So I was assuming we were talking about physical, but
shout them out. Yeah. I was going to say, I'm not sure if they're asking for terrain as in, like desert terrain, rocky terrain in the actual game or not, or physical terrain. But yeah, in physical terrain, I've got a company which makes D&D terrain, but it's basically Lego. It's not overly detailed, but it's significantly cheaper than Dwarven Forge and the big ones like that. And then you can just put together, like Lego, a little terrain piece as well, which works quite nice for a little cheaper alternative. Yeah, cool. Right, we are coming to the end, so let's go through these last.
I'll give you short answers.
Questions. So we got how to D&D. So Fred over there, do you think people are buying fewer miniatures with the pandemic?
Well, I can tell you I'm not. One of my favorite websites is minisgallery.com. It's an awesome community built around minis. And you can just like look at the old sets. So you can see, here's number 1 is the goblin or whatever, and you can make sure you have all the pieces or whatever. But the forums over there, that's what I'm talking about. And so a lot of the people on that website, we're like the whales of the collecting community. And it focuses on whiz kids in particular. And everybody's still buying stuff, even with these new super premium minis, like Tiamat and that Tarask. People are still buying them.
Yeah, it would be quite interesting to find out actually how it has impacted it. I feel like me and you are very different in our buying of minis as well, because you're quite heavily invested in them, whereas I just buy the boxes because I haven't bought any during COVID because of it all being online, and I buy miniatures just to look cool at the table and to put down, whereas rather than paint it and enjoy that process.
I fully admit I do feel like a dork buying these physical minis for a game that I haven't played in person in a year.
Yeah, I do think that there is a lot of enjoyment for just the painting process, though. Like the sitting down, it's very zen, isn't it? To sort of get into the moment of painting a mini.
And one more plug for our Discord. Every Friday night at 8:30 Central Time, we have a group painting where we all do video chat and we all paint minis or work on other stuff and just hang out and talk.
That's really cool. Yeah, there you go. And the Discord is down in the description for anyone who's interested in that.
And it's anybody's welcome to join.
There is a clarification coming from Cormac that they meant more difficult terrain, cliffs, boulders, people take advantage of and such. So I have one thing that comes to mind. So our very first session of people who'd never played D&D before. So I thought I'd put together a very easy encounter, and it was kobolds. And there were supposed to be average kobolds, and then there was one spellcaster kobold that was the leader. And the barbarian player, who hadn't played before, decided to pick up the kobold and take it underwater. So there was a little lake nearby, and just pulled it underwater. And because it's spellcaster, essentially meant it couldn't do anything. Yeah. And then just held it underwater, like punching it until it died. And yeah, that was a very unique way of using terrain. And I was like, okay, yeah, you understand D&D.
I very much look forward to someday making one of the new chromatic Dragonborn and going a red dragon. And at 5th level, they get 1 minute of immunity to their resistance, and going red and just barbarian, just grappling something and just pulling it into lava.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
I can't wait for that.
Yeah, cool. Carl has said when your players sit down with all these new minis, they're going to lose their mind. So yeah, it will be worth it in the end.
Yeah. I have off camera, but I have a full brick still sealed up that we haven't even opened. We're saving it.
There you go.
And Orcus is over there too.
All right, let's go to this last question then from Ranger Rick. So do you ever have a character that is a wild card, either your own or one of the players? An example would be like Harlequin from the DC comics. You're not sure if they're bad or good.
I think it's real easy for people that are playing chaotic neutral to go like objectively evil, but but they make it sound chaotic. I do like to do kind of more mysterious characters though. So if you it's a lot of times you'll want to broadcast your NPC's intent, right? Because this isn't like a TV show where you're like really getting to know all this stuff. So you want to be fairly straightforward, and you don't have to like have your character, the NPC, lie or anything like that, but just not be, here's my entire expository background kind of thing, and just be a little like, ah. And I think that kind of mystery can bring a lot, where the players have to decide, do we want to go with this person? Should we try to capture this person? Well, what should we do with them? How do we interact with them? Are we trying to be good? Are we trying to maybe achieve a good goal, but get to it through not necessarily the cleanest methods? So I like that kind of muddy status, I guess, more than wild card, but I think that works.
Yeah, definitely. I do enjoy an NPC where once they go out of the scene, your players are like, are they good? Did they lie to us? Should we trust them? It is quite enjoyable. And in terms of a player being a wild card, I have had a few that have... it's quite hard, actually, to balance as a DM between them just semi-ruining the session, because... like I had one which was absolutely fine, where they just wanted to pickpocket everyone and steal stuff from everyone.
Oh yeah.
And I managed to manage it okay, but that in a different group could have been annoying to the other players. So you do have to it's a bit of a tightrope to manage that.
Oh, it's what my character would do.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they're either like a rogue, or they're a tiefling wild magic sorcerer, or just, oh no, I decided to burn down the village,
Yeah, and I've played in a game where there's been another player that has been like that as well, and it just doesn't get enjoyable for everyone else at the table. So you have to be a little bit careful when you're doing it.
If you wanted to play something like that at my table, let's go ahead. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt that you'll be able to pull it off, but I will give you an asterisk there that my eye is out for you to make sure we're being good partners at the table.
Definitely. Perfect. Well, thank you for everyone for tuning in. We are going to be wrapping it up here. Do you want to let everyone know where they can find you, Eric?
Absolutely. Everywhere /Fryminis. YouTube.com/Fryminis. Twitter, Instagram, Patreon. Or just come over to fryminis.com, discord.gg/Fryminis. Come hang out with us. Get the inside scoop on upcoming books. Take a look at cool minis. Hang out with us while we paint. And just chit chat. We like to have fun, and I assume you like to have fun too. So let's have fun together.
Perfect. And as I said earlier, Eric has got access to Fizban's book and is going through that on his channel at the moment, which comes out on Tuesday. So if you want to see what's inside it before you go ahead and purchase it, go across to his channel and look that up. And it's been a pleasure talking with you. We've got through quite a few
this was a hoot.
questions in the end. So yeah, perfect.
And thank you to all the viewers and the question askers. This is great.
Yes. Nice. Perfect. And if you are watching this after the fact, go ahead down in the comments and put any of your questions, and I'll get to it next week with whoever the guest is next week. And hopefully we'll get you on again, Eric, in the future. It's been enjoyable.
Absolutely. And don't forget to celebrate Bander Hobtober, our painting contest. You can win $50. You've got through the end of the month. Come learn more on Discord.
Yeah, so go across to his Discord and find out. Well, thank you all for coming, and see you all later.
Live long and prosper.